The autumn market at Thornford Crossing was no place for a woman alone. Saren knew this. She felt it in the hostile glances from merchants who recognized her threadbare cloak as belonging to the northern villages. She tasted it in the ash-thick air that hung over the border town like a warning, and she heard it in the whispered accusations that followed her from stall to stall. Witch, cursed, unnatural. 3 weeks since Lord Aldrich Voss had come to her village with soldiers in chains. 3 weeks since her younger brother Taran had been dragged from their cottage, accused of harboring forbidden magic. The same magic that ran through Saren's own veins like liquid fire. She had spent every last coin tracking Taran here, to this lawless crossing where the civilized kingdom of Valdros met the wild territories beyond. Somewhere in this chaos of traitors and thieves and desperate souls, she would find information, a lead, anything. Saren paused beside a cloth merchant's cart, pretending to examine bolts of fabric while her eyes swept the crowd. 2 men in the black leather of Voss's personal guard had been following her since the eastern gate. They moved like hunters, patient and certain. Her pulse quickened. Running would confirm their suspicions, but staying meant capture, meant death. A hand closed around her elbow. Before Saren could scream, she was pulled against a broad chest. The man towered over her. Dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on ancient coins, sharp jaw, aristocratic nose, and eyes the color of molten amber that burned with quiet command. "You're not safe," he murmured against her ear, his voice low and rough. "Act like you're my wife." The words made no sense. Wife? She had never seen this stranger before in her life, but his arm was already sliding around her waist, pulling her close with possessive familiarity. Over his shoulder, Saren watched the 2 guards approaching, hands resting on sword hilts. "Smile," the stranger commanded. "Like you're happy to see me. I don't know you," Saren whispered through barely moving lips. "You do now." His thumb traced a slow circle against her hip, a gesture so intimate it sent heat flooding through her cheeks. "We've been married 2 years. You're meeting me here after visiting your mother in Ashvale. Do you understand?" One of the guards called out. "You there. Step away from the woman." The stranger turned, keeping Saren tucked against his side. His entire demeanor shifted, becoming something lighter, almost amused. "Is there a problem, gentlemen? We're looking for a woman matching her description, wanted for questioning by Lord Voss himself." The stranger's eyebrows rose with perfect surprise. "My wife? Surely there's been some mistake. Saren has been in Ashvale for the past month tending to her ailing mother." He glanced down at her with such convincing warmth that Saren nearly believed him herself. "Isn't that right, darling?" Saren's throat was dry as bone. "Yes," she managed. "My mother. She's been unwell." The guards exchanged uncertain looks. One stepped closer, studying Saren's face with narrowed eyes. "What's your husband's name, then?" Panic seized her chest. She didn't know his name. She didn't know anything about him, except that his hand on her waist felt like a brand, and his presence beside her felt inexplicably like safety. "Cale Verne," the stranger answered smoothly before she could falter. "Merchant of fine goods, purveyor of rare antiquities, and devoted husband to this beautiful woman for 2 years come winter." He pressed a kiss to Saren's temple that made her breath catch. "Now, if you'll excuse us, my wife and I have much to discuss. Her mother's condition, you understand." The guards hesitated. Saren could feel the moment balanced on a knife's edge. Then the taller guard stepped back with a curt nod. "Our apologies for the interruption. You may go." Cale guided Saren away from the confrontation, his stride unhurried but purposeful. She could feel the tension coiled in his body, the controlled strength in the arm wrapped around her waist. He moved like a predator pretending to be prey. They walked in silence through the winding market streets, until the crowds thinned and the noise faded to a distant murmur. Only then did Cale release her, stepping back with an expression Saren could not read. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice trembling despite her efforts to control it. "Why did you help me?" "The better question," Cale said quietly, "is why Lord Voss wants you badly enough to send his personal guard across 3 territories." Cold dread washed through her. "How do you know about Voss?" Something flickered in those amber eyes. "I know many things about Lord Voss, including what he does to those he captures." He paused, studying her face with unsettling intensity. "You have a brother, Taran, 14 summers old, dark hair, a gift for making plants grow where they shouldn't." The words struck Saren like physical blows. "How could you possibly know that? Where is he? Is he alive?" Cale's jaw tightened. "He lives. For now." Saren grabbed the front of his shirt, desperation, overwhelming caution. "Tell me where he is. Please, I'll do anything." For a long moment, Kyle simply looked at her. Then something shifted in his expression, the cool detachment cracking to reveal something rawer beneath. Voss has taken your brother to Ravenmoor Fortress, he said. The same place he takes all those he suspects of carrying the old blood. His voice dropped lower. The same place my own people have been disappearing to for months. Your people? Cale glanced around the empty street, then stepped closer. Close enough that Saren could smell pine and wood smoke and something wild beneath. There are things I need to tell you, he said. Things that will change everything you think you know about this world and your place in it. But not here, not where his spies might hear. Why should I trust you? Cale's amber eyes held hers with burning directness. Because I'm the only one who can get you inside Ravenmoor. And because, whether you know it yet or not, you and I share the same enemy. He offered his hand. Every instinct screamed at Saren to run. This man was a stranger. His help came with motives she did not understand. And yet, when she looked into those strange, golden-flecked eyes, she felt something stir deep in her chest. Something ancient. Something that recognized him. She took his hand. And everything changed. Cale led her through the back alleys of Thornford Crossing with the confidence of someone who had mapped every shadow. They moved quickly, silently, until the market sounds disappeared entirely, and they emerged at the forest's edge. A weathered stable stood hidden among the trees. Inside, 2 horses waited, already saddled. You planned this, Saren realized. You knew I would be here. I knew Voss's guards would be hunting someone today. Cale swung onto the larger horse with fluid grace. I didn't know it would be you. That's not an answer. No. He extended a hand to help her mount behind him. It isn't. They rode through the afternoon, deeper into territory Saren had only heard of in whispered warnings. The Thornwood, the wild lands where the kingdom's laws meant nothing and ancient powers still held sway. She clung to Cale's waist as the horse navigated treacherous paths, acutely aware of the heat radiating from his body and the steady rhythm of his breathing. You said we share an enemy. Saren spoke into the silence. What did you mean? Lord Voss has been conducting experiments, Cale replied without turning. On people with abilities he deems unnatural. People like your brother. A pause. People like you. Saren's grip tightened involuntarily. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Now he did turn. Enough that she could see his profile. The gift that runs through your bloodline. The power to heal wounds that should be fatal. To sense sickness before it manifests. To feel the life force of every living thing around you. Her breath caught. How could you possibly know that? Because I can smell it on you. His voice dropped to something barely above a growl. The old magic. It sings in your blood like starlight. Smell it? Saren's thoughts scattered like startled birds. What manner of man could smell magic? Before she could demand answers, Cale raised his hand sharply. The horse stopped, and in the sudden stillness, Saren heard it too. Hoofbeats. Many of them. Coming fast. Voss's hunters, Cale said, his tone gone cold. They've tracked us. How? We were careful. Not careful enough. He dismounted in one smooth motion and pulled her down beside him. Listen to me. There's a ravine ahead. Narrow enough to cross on foot, but too dangerous for horses. I need you to run. Don't stop until you reach the stone arch on the other side. My people will find you there. What about you? Cale's smile was sharp as a blade. I'll be right behind you. You're lying. Saren grabbed his arm. You're going to fight them alone. I'm going to delay them. There's a difference. There are at least a dozen riders. You'll die. Something ancient flickered in Cale's eyes. I'm harder to kill than I look. The hoofbeats grew louder. Shouts echoed through the trees. Saren could see torchlight dancing between the trunks. Go, Cale commanded. Now. Not without you. The words left her mouth before she could stop them. I won't let another person die for me. Not again. Cale stared at her with an expression she could not name. Then his hand came up to cup her face, his palm rough and warm against her cheek. Brave woman, he murmured. You don't even know what I am. Then show me. The hunters broke through the tree line. A dozen armed men on horseback, their leader bearing Voss's crest on his armor. They spread out in a half circle, cutting off escape. There she is, the captain called out. The witch. And she's found herself a protector. He laughed, a cruel sound. Kill the man. Take the woman alive. Lord Voss has plans for her. Saren felt Cale's body go rigid beside her. A low sound rumbled from his chest, something that vibrated through the air like distant thunder. Then he stepped forward and let them see what he truly was. The change began in his eyes, amber bleeding into molten gold. Then his shoulders widened, his spine curved, and shadows erupted from his form like wings of pure darkness. Bones cracked and reformed with sounds that made Saren's stomach lurch. Clothing tore away as muscle and sinew reshaped themselves into something massive and terrible and beautiful. Where Kale had stood moments before, there now crouched a wolf the size of a warhorse. Silver-black fur rippled over corded muscle, golden eyes blazed with predatory intelligence, and when the beast opened its jaws, the roar that emerged shook leaves from their branches. The hunters' horses screamed and reared. Men shouted in terror, their formation shattering as trained warhorses became uncontrollable with primal fear. The wolf moved like lightning-made flesh. Saren watched, frozen, as Kale tore through the hunters with savage precision. He didn't kill to cause suffering. Every strike was efficient, targeted, dropping men from their saddles without unnecessary cruelty. Within moments, half the company lay groaning on the forest floor while the rest fled, screaming into the darkness. Then the wolf turned to face her. Saren should have run. Every rational part of her mind screamed that she was standing before a creature of nightmare, a monster from the old stories meant to frighten children into obedience. Instead, she stood her ground. The wolf approached slowly, its massive head lowered, golden eyes fixed on her face. When it stopped an arm's length away, Saren could feel its breath hot against her skin. "Kyle," she whispered. The wolf made a sound, low and soft, almost like a question. Then it pressed its enormous muzzle against her palm. The contact sent a jolt through Saren's entire body. Her healing gift surged awake without her permission, reaching toward this creature with desperate recognition. She felt Kale's presence beneath the wolf's form, felt his consciousness brushing against hers with something that felt impossibly like longing. Then the wolf pulled back, and Kale was there again, kneeling naked in the moonlight, breathing hard, his golden eyes slowly fading back to amber. "Now you know," he said roughly, "what I am, what my people are." He rose to his feet, seemingly unbothered by his state. "The ones Voss has been hunting. The ones he captures and experiments on and murders in the name of purifying the realm." Saren's voice emerged as barely a whisper. "Shifters. The old stories are true. The old stories are shadows of the truth." Kale's expression hardened. "I am Kale Vierne, Alpha King of the Thornwood Pack, and your brother is being held in a fortress built specifically to cage and destroy my kind." They reached the Thornwood settlement as dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and gold. Saren had expected savagery. The kingdom's priests spoke of shifters as demons wearing flesh, monsters without morality or civilization. Instead, she found herself entering a village that could have belonged to any prosperous holding. Stone cottages with flowering gardens, children chasing each other through cobbled streets, the smell of fresh bread drifting from a communal bakery, and everywhere, people stopping to stare at their alpha walking beside a human woman. "They're afraid of me," Saren murmured, noting how mothers pulled children behind their skirts and men fingered weapons at their belts. "They're cautious," Kale corrected. "Humans from the lowlands have brought nothing but pain to my people. You'll need to earn their trust. How am I supposed to do that when your people want me dead?" "Not dead." A young man fell into step beside them, his dark hair and sharp features marking him as kin to Kale. "Just thoroughly investigated." "Hello, brother. Care to explain why you've brought a human witch into our territory?" "Saren, this is Ronan, my second, my brother, and the most irritating person you'll ever meet." Ronan grinned. "Charmed, I'm sure. Now answer the question." "She's under my protection," Kale said flatly. "Her brother is held at Ravenmoor alongside our missing pack members. Her abilities may be the key to breaching Voss's defenses." "Abilities?" Ronan's eyes narrowed as he studied Saren with new interest. "What kind of abilities are we talking about?" "The healing kind," Saren answered before Kale could speak for her. "Though I doubt that's useful for breaking into fortresses." Something flickered in Ronan's expression. "A healer? A true healer with the old gift?" "Yes. Why? What does it matter?" Ronan and Kale exchanged a look heavy with unspoken meaning. Then Kale took Saren's elbow and guided her toward a larger building at the settlement's center. "There's something you need to see," he said quietly. "Something that will help you understand why I brought you here, and why your gift matters more than you know." The building was a healing house. Saren recognized the herb scent instantly, the same plants her grandmother had taught her to cultivate, though she had never seen them growing in such abundance. But it was not the herbs that made her breath catch. It was the patients. Rows of beds filled the long room, each one occupied by a shifter in obvious agony. Their skin was mottled with silver-black discoloration that spread like frost across their bodies. Some writhed and moaned, others lay terrifyingly still. "Voss's work," Kale said, his voice tight with barely contained rage. "A poison designed specifically to target our kind. It attacks the bond between our human and wolf spirits, tearing us apart from within." Saren moved toward the nearest patient without conscious thought. A woman, young, with silver hair matted by fever sweat. The discoloration had spread across her chest and down her arms, pulsing with sickly luminescence. "May I?" Saren asked, her hand hovering over the woman's shoulder. Kale nodded. The moment Saren's fingers touched flesh, her healing gift surged to life. Golden warmth flowed from her palm, instinctively seeking the source of corruption. She could feel the poison now, a malevolent presence that seemed almost alive in its hunger to destroy. But she could feel something else too. The woman's wolf spirit, trapped and terrified, fighting desperately to survive. "I see it," Saren breathed. "The poison. It's not just killing the body, it's severing the soul. Can you heal it?" Saren closed her eyes, reaching deeper with her gift. The poison recoiled from her light, retreating slightly before surging back with renewed aggression. It was strong, stronger than anything she had ever faced. "I don't know," she admitted. "I've never encountered anything like this. It's designed to fight back, to consume any healing energy directed against it. There has to be a way." Ronan's voice cracked with emotion. "That's my mother lying there. She was captured 6 months ago, experimented on, then dumped at our border like garbage. She's been dying by inches ever since." Saren looked from the suffering woman to her son's anguished face to Kale's carefully controlled expression. These were not the monsters from her kingdom stories. These were people, family, fighting to survive against an enemy who wanted them erased from existence. "I'll try," she said. "I can't promise anything, but I'll try." She placed both hands on the woman's chest and opened herself fully to her gift. The pain hit immediately, sharp and disorienting as the poison recognized a threat and attacked. Saren gasped but held her ground, pushing her healing light deeper into the corrupted tissue. She could feel the woman's wolf now, a silver presence wrapped in chains of darkness, howling for release. "Hold on," Saren whispered. "I'm coming for you." She gathered every fragment of power she possessed and sent it blazing into the heart of the corruption. The reaction was instantaneous and violent. Saren screamed as the poison latched onto her gift and began to devour it. She tried to pull back, but the connection was already too deep. She could feel the darkness crawling up the thread of her power, racing toward her own spirit like fire along a fuse. "Saren," Kale's voice, distant and desperate. Then hands gripped her shoulders, and she felt something else pour into her. Wild energy, fierce and protective, wrapping around her gift like armor. Kale's power, his wolf reaching for her through the chaos. Together, their combined force slammed into the poison. For one eternal moment, the battle hung suspended, light against darkness, life against death. Then, slowly, impossibly, the corruption began to retreat. Saren watched through exhaustion-blurred vision as the silver-black discoloration faded from the woman's skin. Color returned to pale cheeks, eyelids fluttered, and a voice, weak but alive, whispered a single word. "Ronan? Mother." The young man collapsed beside the bed, gathering the healed woman in his arms. "Mother, you're back. You're really back." Saren swayed on her feet. The room was spinning. She had given too much, far too much. Strong arms caught her before she could fall. "I have you," Kale murmured against her hair. "I have you. Rest now." Saren wanted to argue. She wanted to ask what had happened, how their powers had merged, what it meant that his wolf had reached for her so instinctively, but her body had already made the decision for her. As darkness claimed her consciousness, the last thing she felt was Kale lifting her in his arms, and the last thing she heard was his voice, rough with emotion she could not name, speaking words in the old tongue that her grandmother had taught her to recognize. "Mine to protect, mine to keep, mine." Saren woke to firelight and the scent of pine. She lay in a bed softer than any she had known, covered in furs that held lingering warmth. The room was modest but comfortable, with herbs drying from wooden beams and a window that looked out onto the moonlit forest. How long had she slept? Saren pushed herself upright, wincing as her muscles protested. The healing she had performed on Ronan's mother had drained her more thoroughly than anything in her life. Her gift felt distant now, a faint ember where there had once been a steady flame. "You should rest longer." Kale sat in a chair by the fire, watching her with those unsettling amber eyes. He had changed into simple clothing, loose linen shirt and dark trousers, but nothing could make him look ordinary. Power radiated from him like heat from a forge. "How long was I unconscious?" Saren asked. 2 days. 2 days. Her brother had been in Voss's hands for 3 weeks already. Every hour mattered. "I need to leave," she said, throwing back the furs. "Taryn is still trapped. Still imprisoned?" "Yes. And you're still too weak to help him." Kale's voice was gentle but immovable. "Rushing to Ravenmore half-dead will accomplish nothing except getting you captured alongside him." Saren wanted to argue. Instead, her legs buckled the moment she tried to stand, and she found herself sitting heavily on the bed's edge. "Impossible, woman," Kale murmured, rising to bring her a cup of something warm and fragrant. Drink this. It will help restore what you gave. Their fingers brushed as she accepted the cup. The contact sent that same jolt through her body, that strange recognition that had haunted her since the first moment he touched her. What happened? She asked quietly. When I was healing Ronan's mother, something changed. Your power and mine, they merged. Kale sat beside her on the bed, close enough that she could feel his warmth. My wolf reached for you without my permission. It recognized something in your gift and responded on instinct. Recognized what? Kale was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. Among my kind, there are legends of soul bonds, connections that transcend the physical, linking two spirits so completely that they become halves of a single whole. Saren's breath faltered. You're saying I'm saying my wolf believes you are its mate. His amber eyes met hers with unflinching honesty. I felt it the moment I saw you in the market. This pull, this need to protect you that goes beyond reason. I told myself I was helping you because of your brother, because your healing gift could save my people. But that was a lie. I told myself to avoid this truth. The words hung between them, heavy with implication. I barely know you, Saren whispered. I know. Kale's hand rose slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his fingers traced the line of her jaw with heartbreaking tenderness. And I would never force a bond on someone unwilling. What my wolf wants and what I choose are different things. Are they? His eyes flashed gold for just an instant. They have to be. You're human. You have a brother to rescue and a life to return to. I won't trap you in a world that isn't yours simply because my beast has claimed you without your consent. Saren should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt an ache in her chest that matched the longing she saw carefully hidden behind his controlled expression. What if I don't want to return? The question escaped before she could contain it. Kale went very still. You don't know what you're saying. Maybe not. Saren set down the cup and reached for his hand. But I know that when your wolf reached for me during that healing, something in my soul reached back. I know that I've felt safer in these 2 days among supposed monsters than I ever felt in the kingdom that calls itself civilized. And I know that when you speak to me in the old tongue, my heart understands words my mind has never learned. Saren, you called me yours. Her voice trembled. When you carried me here, you said mine to protect, mine to keep. I heard you. Kale's expression cracked open, revealing such raw vulnerability that Saren's breath caught. You weren't supposed to understand that, but I did. For a suspended moment, neither of them moved. Then Kale leaned forward, his forehead pressing against hers, his breath warm on her lips. If I kiss you, he said roughly, I won't be able to let you go. My wolf will take it as acceptance. The bond will begin forming whether we intend it or not. Saren answered by closing the distance between them. The kiss started gentle, questioning. Then Kale made a sound low in his throat and his hands buried in her hair, pulling her closer as the kiss deepened into something hungry and desperate. Saren felt heat racing through her veins, felt her gift stirring back to life in response to his touch, felt the first golden threads of connection weaving between their spirits. A sharp knock at the door tore them apart. Ronan burst in without waiting for permission, his face pale with alarm. Brother, we have a problem. Scouts report a company of soldiers approaching from the south, at least 50 men, bearing Voss's banner. Kale was on his feet instantly, all softness gone. How did they find us? I don't know, but that's not the worst of it. Ronan's eyes flickered to Saren. They're carrying a white flag, and they've brought a prisoner to negotiate with. Ice flooded Saren's veins. A prisoner? Ronan's expression said everything his words didn't need to. A boy, he confirmed. 14 summers. Dark hair. They're calling him the witch's brother. Saren ran. She ignored Kale's shouts behind her, ignored the burning weakness in her limbs, ignored everything except the desperate need to reach the settlement's edge where the soldiers waited. Terran. They had Terran. The scene that greeted her was a nightmare made flesh. 50 armored soldiers formed a precise line just beyond the village boundary. At their center, mounted on a white stallion, sat a man whose face Saren had seen only once, but would never forget. Lord Aldrich Voss. He was handsome in the way of poisonous flowers, all sharp elegance and cruel beauty. Silver hair swept back from a face unmarked by age despite his 60 years. Eyes the color of winter ice regarded the gathering crowd with amused contempt, and beside his horse, chained and bleeding, stood Tehran. No, Saren breathed. Her brother looked smaller than she remembered. 3 weeks of imprisonment had hollowed his cheeks and dimmed the brightness in his eyes, but when he saw her pushing through the crowd, something sparked back to life in his expression. Saren, don't do this! A guard struck him across the face, silencing him. There she is. Voss's voice carried easily across the space between them. The little healer who's been causing so much trouble. I must admit, I'm impressed. Not many humans survive more than a day in shifter territory without being torn apart. Kale appeared at Saren's side, his presence a wall of barely contained fury. You have no authority here, Voss. This land belongs to the Thornwood Pack. Authority. Voss laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I have 50 soldiers, a hostage, and the full backing of the kingdom's crown. What authority do you have, beast? The right to roll in dirt and howl at the moon? State your terms, Kale said through gritted teeth. Why have you come? Voss's smile widened. Straight to business. I appreciate that. He gestured lazily at Tehran. The boy's gift is weak, useful for experimentation but ultimately disappointing. His sister, however, interests me far more. A healer powerful enough to purge my poison from a shifter's blood? That's a specimen worth acquiring. Saren felt ice crawling up her spine. Specimen? Oh, don't look so frightened, child. My research serves the greater good. Understanding how your gift works will help me develop more effective methods for eliminating the shifter plague. You'll be contributing to the purification of the realm. His eyes glittered. I'm offering a simple exchange. You surrender yourself willingly, and the boy goes free. Refuse, and I'll have him gutted right here while you watch. The guards drew swords, positioning them at Tehran's throat. Saren, no, her brother shouted. Don't listen to him. He'll kill us both anyway. Run. Silence him. Another blow sent Tehran to his knees. Saren stepped forward before Kale could stop her. If I come with you, you'll release him? Unharmed? Saren, don't. Kale growled, catching her arm. He's lying. The moment you're in his hands, your brother becomes worthless to him. And if I refuse? He dies now instead of later? Voss watched their exchange with evident pleasure. The beast makes a fair point. Actually, you have no guarantee I'll honor my word, which is why I'm prepared to offer something more substantial. He reached into his cloak and withdrew a vial of glowing silver liquid. Do you know what this is? The shifters in the crowd recoiled. Even Kale went rigid beside her. The perfected formula, Voss continued. 1 drop in your village's water supply would wipe out every shifter within a day. Slow, painful, irreversible. He smiled. Come with me now, and I'll destroy this vial in front of your new friends. Refuse, and I'll return with enough to poison every pack in the Thornwood. Silence fell over the gathering. Saren looked at the faces surrounding her. Ronan, his mother still weak from her healing, clutching his arm with fragile fingers, children hiding behind their parents' legs, elders who had likely survived countless persecutions only to face extinction now. Then she looked at Kale. At the man who had risked everything to save her, whose wolf had claimed her as its mate, whose kiss still burned on her lips. Don't, he said quietly, for her ears alone. We'll find another way. There is no other way. Saren touched his face, memorizing its lines. If I don't go, everyone dies. You know this. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. It's not your choice to make. She kissed him then, quick and fierce, pouring everything she couldn't say into that brief contact. Then she pulled away and walked toward Voss before Kale could stop her. Wait, Ronan's voice cut through the tension. You can't take her. She's his mate. I sensed the bond forming when they healed my mother together. Every pack in the territory will come for your blood. Voss's eyebrows rose. Mate? You've bonded with this creature? He laughed with genuine delight. Oh, this is even better than I hoped. The Alpha King's human mate, delivered willingly into my hands. The political implications alone are delicious. He snapped his fingers. Soldiers surged forward, grabbing Saren and dragging her toward the horses. She didn't fight. What would be the point? The boy, she called out. You promised. Voss considered for a long moment, then shrugged. I'm feeling generous today. Release him. The chains fell from Tehran's wrists. He stumbled forward, and Ronan caught him before he could collapse. Saren, her brother sobbed. Saren, please, take care of him, she told Kale, holding his gaze as soldiers lifted her onto a horse. Keep him safe. That's all I ask. Kale's eyes blazed pure gold, his wolf barely contained beneath the surface. I will come for you, he said, his voice carrying clearly across the distance. Do you hear me, Voss? Whatever hole you drag her to, I will find it, and when I do, I will tear out your throat and feed it to my wolves. Voss smiled. I'm counting on it. He gave the signal, and the company rode away, carrying Saren with them. The last thing she saw before the forest swallowed them was Kale transforming, his anguished howl splitting the sky as his massive wolf form launched after them. But even an Alpha King couldn't outrun 50 soldiers. And as the distance grew, Saren felt the fragile threads of their new bond stretching thinner and thinner, until, with a sensation like her heart being torn in two, they snapped. The dungeons beneath Ravenmoor Fortress smelled of death and despair. Saren had lost track of time. Days, perhaps weeks, had passed in a blur of cold stone walls and iron bars. Voss visited regularly, extracting samples of her blood, testing her limits, forcing her to heal wounds he inflicted on captured shifters, just to observe her gift in action. Each healing left her weaker. Each day, she felt more of herself slipping away. But the worst pain wasn't physical. It was the silence where Kale's presence had once been. The bond had shattered when they dragged her beyond the Thornwood's boundaries. She had felt it break like a physical wound, leaving an emptiness in her chest that nothing could fill. Sometimes, in her darkest moments, she wondered if he had felt it too, if he was suffering the way she was suffering, or if he had already moved on, finding another mate to replace the foolish human who had gotten herself captured. Stop. Saren shook herself from the spiral. Self-pity was a luxury she couldn't afford. The sound of footsteps echoed in the corridor, not the heavy tread of guards. Something lighter, more furtive. Saren? She scrambled to the bars of her cell, hardly daring to believe. Taran? Her brother emerged from the shadows, dressed in a stolen guard's uniform with a ring of keys clutched in his trembling hands. I found you. Thank the old gods. I found you. How are you here? You were supposed to be safe with the pack. I was. Taran fumbled with the keys, trying lock after lock. But Kale is planning something dangerous. An assault on the fortress, with every warrior he can muster. He's going to get everyone killed trying to rescue you. Saren's chest constricted. No. The defense is here. Voss has been preparing. He wants Kale to attack. It's a trap. I know. That's why I came ahead. Ronan gave me a stolen uniform and maps from a captured soldier. If I can get you out before the assault begins. The lock finally clicked open. We might be able to warn them. Stop the attack before it's too late. Saren grabbed her brother's hand and ran. They navigated the labyrinthine corridors through a combination of Taran's stolen knowledge and Saren's instincts. Twice they nearly stumbled into patrol routes. Once, they hid in a storage closet while guards passed inches away. How did you even get inside? Saren whispered. Ronan created a distraction at the southern wall 2 nights ago while I slipped in through the servants' entrance. I've been hiding in the lower tunnels since, waiting for my chance. Taran's young face was grim. Kale didn't want me to come. Said I was too young, too vulnerable. But I couldn't let you die for me. Not when this whole mess started because Voss wanted to get to you through me. Taran. I was bait, Saren. This whole time, I was bait. Voss knew about your gift before he ever took me. He knew you'd come looking. Knew you'd lead him straight to the Thornwood pack. Tears streaked her brother's cheeks. Everything that's happened, the poison, the attacks, your capture, it's all been part of his plan. The revelation hit Saren like a blow. All this time, she'd thought she was fighting to save her brother. Instead, she'd been dancing to Voss's tune from the very first step. They emerged into a courtyard just as dawn broke over the fortress walls, and there, silhouetted against the rising sun, stood an army of wolves. Hundreds of them, more shifters than Saren had ever seen, their fur ranging from midnight black to silver white, their eyes gleaming with predatory focus. At their head, massive and magnificent, stood a wolf she would recognize anywhere. Kale. No, Saren breathed. No, it's too soon. The trap isn't. Horns blared from the fortress walls. Gates slammed shut behind them, cutting off retreat. And from the ramparts above, Voss's voice carried like poison on the wind. Welcome, Alpha King. I've been expecting you. Archers appeared along every wall, their arrows tipped with silver that glinted in the morning light. Catapults loaded with vials of the killing poison stood ready to fire, and marching from the fortress interior came ranks upon ranks of armored soldiers, outnumbering the wolf army 3-1. Kyle shifted to human form, standing naked and defiant in the courtyard's center. His eyes found Saren's across the chaos. You're alive, he said, and the relief in his voice broke her heart. It's a trap, she shouted. Kale, you have to retreat. He planned all of this. He wanted you to attack. I know. Kale's expression was calm, accepting. I've known since the moment they took you. Then why did you come? His smile was sad and beautiful and terrible all at once. Because a broken bond doesn't stop the heart from beating, and mine stopped the moment they carried you away. Voss descended from the ramparts, clapping slowly. Touching, truly touching, the beast and his witch, reunited at last. He stopped several yards from Kale, confidence radiating from every pore. You know you can't win this fight. My forces will slaughter your wolves before they breach the first line. Probably, Kale agreed. So why come? Why throw away everything for one human woman? Kale's eyes never left Saren's face. Because she's not just one human woman. She's everything. And some things are worth dying for. He shifted. The wolves charged. And as arrows rained from the sky, and poison clouds erupted across the battlefield, Saren felt something impossible stirring in her chest. A spark. A thread. A connection she had thought forever severed beginning to reform. Kale's voice echoed in her mind, clear as it had never been before. I'm coming for you, my heart. Just hold on. The battle was a symphony of chaos and blood. Saren watched in horror as silver arrows found their marks, as wolves fell howling to the poison-laced ground, as Kale's army broke against Voss's prepared defenses like waves against stone. The courtyard became a slaughterhouse within minutes, and through it all, the fragile thread of her reforming bond with Kale pulsed with his pain. Every wound he took, she felt. Every fallen pack member carved grief into his heart that echoed through hers. He was fighting his way toward her with savage determination, cutting through soldiers like they were made of paper, but even an alpha king had limits. We have to help them, Taryn said, his voice cracking with fear. How? Saren's gift was drained. Her body was weak from weeks of captivity. What could she possibly do against an army? Then she saw it. The catapults. Each one loaded with vials of Voss's killing poison, ready to be launched into the heart of the wolf army. If even one struck true, hundreds would die in agony. The catapults, she breathed. If I can reach them, you'll be killed. Maybe. Saren gripped her brother's shoulders. Find somewhere safe. Hide until this is over. Whatever happens, survive. Do you understand me? Saren. Promise me, Taryn. Her brother's face crumpled, but he nodded. I promise. Saren ran. She moved through the chaos like a ghost, dodging clashing bodies and falling weapons. Soldiers barely noticed her, too focused on the wolves tearing through their ranks. She climbed collapsed rubble and skirted pools of blood until she reached the first catapult. The mechanism was complex, but destruction was simple. She grabbed a fallen sword and hacked at the ropes until they snapped, sending the arm crashing uselessly to the ground. One down, 3 more to go. She sprinted toward the second, then the third. By the time she reached the fourth, her arms burned and her lungs screamed for air. But she was so close. Just one more. Impressive. Voss stepped from behind the catapult, a silver blade gleaming in his hand. Saren skidded to a halt, her stolen sword raised between them. You've caused quite a bit of trouble, little healer. Voss advanced slowly, his smile never wavering. I was going to dissect you eventually, but I think I'd rather kill you now. Let your alpha watch the light. Leave your eyes. It will break him more thoroughly than any poison ever could. You underestimate him. Do I? Voss laughed. Look around you, child. His army is dying. His pack is being slaughtered. And you, his precious mate, are about to bleed out at my feet. What exactly do I underestimate? Saren felt Kale's presence through the bond. A blazing sun of fury and fear and desperate love. He was fighting toward her, but he was too far away. He wouldn't reach her in time. She had to save herself. The thought crystallized with sudden clarity. All her life, she had hidden her gift, suppressed it, treated it as something shameful to be concealed. But her grandmother had spoken of ancestors who wielded the old magic like a weapon. Healers who could sense the life force in every living thing, including the life force of their enemies. Saren let the sword fall, knowing steel couldn't save her now. Only the gift she'd spent her whole life hiding. Surrendering? Voss raised an eyebrow. How disappointing. No. Saren closed her eyes and reached deep within herself, past the exhaustion, past the fear, to the core of power she had never dared fully unleash. I'm done hiding. The magic erupted from her like a golden sunrise. It blazed outward in a wave of pure life force, so bright that soldiers shielded their eyes and wolves howled in recognition. Saren felt it touch every living thing in the courtyard, felt the threads of existence connecting every creature present, and she felt Voss. His life force was twisted, corrupted. The same silver-black taint that poisoned his victims ran through his own veins, sustained by decades of dark experimentation. He had made himself something not quite human, not quite alive. What are you doing? For the first time, fear flickered in Voss's eyes. Stop this! Stop this now! You wanted to know how my gift works. Saren opened her eyes, and they blazed with golden light. Let me show you. She reached for the corruption inside him and pulled. Voss screamed. The sound was inhuman, a shriek of agony as Saren's power tore through him, ripping away the dark magic that had sustained his unnatural life. Decades of stolen vitality unraveled in seconds. His silver hair turned white, then fell away entirely. His smooth skin withered and cracked. His body crumbled in on itself like a sandcastle before the tide. When it was over, nothing remained but ash and the fading echo of his final scream. Saren swayed. The magic had taken everything she had and more. Her vision darkened at the edges. Her legs gave way beneath her. But before she could fall, arms caught her. Kale. He was wounded, bleeding from a dozen cuts, his human form battered but alive. His amber eyes searched her face with desperate intensity. "You killed him," he said hoarsely. "You actually killed him." "I think I did." Saren's voice was barely a whisper. "Is it over?" Kale looked across the courtyard. Without their leader, without the threat of the catapults, the remaining soldiers were surrendering in droves. Wolves stood victorious among the fallen, howling their triumph to the brightening sky. "It's over," he confirmed. "Thanks to you." "Good." Saren smiled weakly. "Then I can rest now." "No." Kale's arms tightened around her. "No. Stay with me. Stay awake. The healers will." "I gave too much." She could feel it, her life force flickering like a candle in the wind. The magic it takes from the user when there's no other source. "I knew the cost." "You knew?" Anguish shattered his composure. "You knew it would kill you and you did it anyway. Some things are worth dying for." She echoed his words back to him. "You said that yourself." "Not you. Never you. I love you." The words came easily now, when there was nothing left to lose. "I think I loved you from the moment you told me to act like your wife. I'm sorry we didn't have more time." Kale's expression transformed. The grief was still there, but something else blazed alongside it. Determination, defiance. The absolute refusal to accept the unacceptable. "No," he said. "I won't let you go. Not when I just found you." He lifted her in his arms and pressed his lips to her throat. But this wasn't a kiss. His teeth grazed her skin, sharp and deliberate, and she understood what he was offering. "The claiming bite," she breathed. "You said it could kill me, or save you." His voice shook. "My life force bound to yours, my wolf sharing its strength with your spirit. It might destroy us both, but I would rather die trying than live without you." Saren looked into his golden eyes and saw her whole future reflected there. A life she had never dared imagine, a love she had never believed she deserved. "Then claim me," she whispered, "and I'll claim you right back." Kale's teeth sank into her throat. The pain was blinding, exquisite, transformative. Saren felt his life force pour into her, wild and fierce and overwhelmingly powerful. It crashed against her fading spirit like a tidal wave, filling the empty spaces, rekindling the dying embers. But she didn't just receive. She gave. Her healing magic surged through the bond, wrapping around his wounds, mending his injuries, pouring her essence into him as he poured his into her. They became a circuit of shared power, each feeding the other, each saving the other. And when the exchange reached its peak, Saren pulled him closer and bit down on his throat. The world exploded into golden light. When it faded, they lay tangled together on the blood-soaked ground, both breathing, both alive, both irrevocably changed. Saren could feel Kale's heartbeat as clearly as her own, could sense his emotions, his thoughts, and his wolf spirit prowling contentedly alongside her consciousness. "You're here," Kale murmured against her hair. "You're still here. Where else would I be?" She pulled back enough to look at his face. "I'm yours. You're mine. That's how this works, isn't it?" His smile was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. "That's exactly how this works." Around them, wolves began to shift back to human form. Ronan was the first to reach them, his expression cycling through disbelief, relief, and finally exasperated joy. "You two are absolutely mad," he announced. "Magnificent, ridiculous, utterly insane. And I've never been prouder." "We'll take that as a compliment," Kale said, climbing to his feet and pulling Saren up with him. Terran emerged from his hiding spot, running to Saren with tears streaming down his face. She caught him in a fierce embrace, feeling her brother's heartbeat against hers. "You're okay," he sobbed. "You're really okay." "I'm okay." She kissed the top of his head. "We're all okay." The pack gathered around them as the sun rose fully over Ravenmoor's broken walls. Soldiers were being rounded up, wounded were being tended, and at the center of it all, Saren stood beside her mate, her brother at her side, surrounded by people who had been strangers 3 weeks ago but now felt like family. "What happens now?" she asked. Kale's hand found hers, their fingers interlacing. "Now we go home. Now we rebuild. Now we create a future where our people don't have to hide what they are." "Our people? You're the Alpha Queen now." His eyes sparkled. "Where I go, you go. Where I rule, you rule. Where I belong, you belong." Saren looked out at the assembled pack, at the faces watching her with hope and acceptance, and the first fragile seeds of loyalty. She had spent her whole life running from what she was, hiding her gift, pretending to be ordinary. No more. Then let's go home, she said. The wolves howled their approval, the sound rising to the heavens like a hymn of victory. And as Kale shifted into his magnificent wolf form, and Saren climbed onto his back, she knew with absolute certainty that she had finally found where she belonged. Not in the kingdom that had feared her, not in the village that had whispered witch behind her back, but here, in the wild places where magic ran free and love transcended the boundaries between human and wolf. She was home at last. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more paranormal romance content.